was June 2014, and me and my friend Devanshi, two of us had gone to interview at PwC, one of the largest companies in the world, one of the big four, along with Deloitte, KPMG, and EY. Now, for PwC, think about it. Two candidates had gone to interview for the same profile. We were both interviewing for a department called transfer pricing, which falls under international tax. Now, I had come from a college in Bombay called HR College. She had come from a college in Bombay called NM College. Both of these are considered as great colleges. I had studied something called BFM or BCom in financial markets. She had studied something called BAF, which is BCom in accounts and finance. For a PwC kind of a company, both these colleges are considered great colleges and both these courses are considered equal to BCom. So technically, both of us are at the age of 21. So they hired us both. However, because I had studied ACCA, the difference was magnified. She had started at a position called an analyst, which is what any graduate gets. That time, and I got hired at a position called an associate, two designations above her for at a position which a qualified CA gets hired at. It would have taken Devanshi on an average 4 years to reach the associate level if she climbed it normally. Her salary back in the day started at 2 lakhs, which is very common for graduates. But mine started at 7, which is what you pay a CA. That was the first time I realized that because of ACCA, having done everything equal to everybody else in my life, same kind of person, same kind of age, same kind of education background, but just because of ACCA, I had a springboard to my launch of my career. The power of ACCA was that time really understood by me, and the power of time was insane. I had started my ACCA after 12 and got done by the time I graduated. My friends who had started CA, they had also started after 12. But by the time I was about to quit PwC to start Zell, that was almost 2 years into PwC. Towards the end of that experience, my friends who had started CA with me, they were about to appear for their final CA exam. These are the guys who had cleared everything in the first attempt, had completed the articleship. They were about to give their final CA attempt. I was wishing them best of luck when I was on my way out of PwC, which meant that A, I didn't know if my friends were going to clear final CA or not. B, if they cleared, I was not sure if they were not sure rather if they were going to get into a company like PwC. And third, even if they got the same kind of profile as me, I was still 2 years ahead, had figured out lots about myself and about the real world, and decided already what my career was going to be. That was the power that I understood about ACCA, which changed my life, transformed my life. And it is because of that epiphany that I got that I've been able to impact thousands and thousands of students across India. So in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about ACCA, no matter what stage of your career you are at, why ACCA might be the career trajectory you are looking for 2025. So guys, for this year, I'm going to make a series of multiple different qualifications in finance and accounts to help you guys make an informed decision to know what you guys are going to really pursue. Let's start with ACCA. And also guys, this is our 9th year into Zell. We started back in 2015. And so for our 9th anniversary gift, we are going to give 9 of you students a free training course for any one paper of the ACCA qualification in any of the 3 levels. All you have to do is answer 3 questions that I'll be asking throughout the video. Pause it, answer it, and additional benefits of this are mentioned in the description below. So, what is ACCA? Right? ACCA is the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants. It's applicable across the world in 180 countries. And by CA, I mean if you are a CA and I'm an ACCA, we are both more or less at the same level. Next, eligibility. Are you eligible for ACCA? Short answer is if you have cleared grade 10, you are eligible for ACCA. Next comes the academic structure. Now, ACCA is split into 3 levels. We call it knowledge level, skill level, and professional level. And these 3 levels are broken into 13 exams, 1-3. On an average, you take 2 to 3 years to complete all the 13 papers, depending on, of course, your speed, your comfort, your availability. Next, when we come to the exam window, when are these exams given? On an average, each exam is given every quarter, every March, June, September, and December. Only the knowledge level is what we call on-demand exams, which means you can give them anytime in the 365 days of the year. You can come to our office. We have what we call a licensed computer-based exam center. You call us, you say, okay, I'm ready for the first paper. I want to come on Monday, 10 a.m. If you have a slot available, come, give the exam. It's all MCQs. Give the exam on the spot. You'll know if you've cleared or not. If you've cleared, move on to the next paper. That's the first level. And then, like I said, the second and third level are every March, June, September, December. Next is the ACCA pass mark. Each exam is 100 marks and all you need is to score 50 in each paper and that's it. You're done with that exam. Next comes the passing rate. That means out of 10 people giving an exam, how many clear? Well, the global average across the last 10 years, if you see all the exams of ACCA across the world, out of 10 people giving the exams, around 4 to 5 land up clearing the exam. Of course, because we are a learning provider and we have an entire team of faculty members who are ACCA qualified and a team of people who work on content and helping you guys pass the exam. At Zell, out of 10 people giving the exam, we have 7 to 8 people clearing. So the global average is 40 to 50%. Zell is around 75 to 80%. Next comes the paper pattern. Well, the first few papers, the first 4 papers are all MCQ based, objective, just multiple choice questions, no negative mark. The skill level, the next 5 papers are partially objective or MCQs and partially subjective. So the subjective part is you'll have to solve it on Excel or on Word in the real exam. Finally, the professional exams are all completely subjective. And lastly, these are all computer-based exams. There is no pen and paper involved. Everything is going to be done online or digitally. Question number 1. Do you need to give the ACCA exams in a particular sequence or per level, you can give them in any order that you like? Next comes the scope or the job opportunities or the value of ACCA in India and overseas. Let me start with India. What kind of companies in India hire ACCAs? Well, what we call the big 4, like I was mentioning, KPMG, Deloitte, PwC, EY. The 5th biggest is called Grant Thornton and the 6th biggest is called BDO. These are called the big 6. All these companies are multinationals that are obviously based in India. They all hire multiple CAs and they all also hire ACCAs. This is just the tip of the iceberg. You can move ahead of these big 6. You talk about other companies, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs. You talk about companies which are Indian. You talk about ICICI. You talk about Kotak. You talk about, there's a company called Maersk, one of the largest shipping companies. You talk about a lot of small boutique-sized companies. There's Stress Vista, there is ACES. I can go on and on about the kind of companies that have hired ACCAs here in India, whether it's hundreds of our students or it's a faculty members, or you go on LinkedIn and you search for ACCA, you will see how many people are working. Plus, there's an official website called accacareers.com. You can go over there, search for India jobs, and you'll see how many jobs are available in what kind of companies. Next, what kind of profiles would you be hired if you are an ACCA? Well, except for Indian tax or Indian law, you can get hired in almost all profiles that a CA would get hired in. There is consulting. There is a way to move ahead in your career. One of our best faculty members, he's written a book. We did a book launch for him recently. He is the Chief Financial Officer, CFO of one of the largest financial securities companies in India. It's worth around 2,000 CR kind of a company. He is just an ACCA. There are people who have started their own ventures, whether, again, even if I don't talk about myself, there's so many students. One of our top students, Rashesh, he has started an AI company to help corporates with presentations. And he himself is an ACCA, which has helped him understand how to run a business. I know people in companies like FirstCry, which had an IPO recently. One of their top finance managers are ACCAs. So the list goes on and on as to what kind of profiles you can get hired. Lastly comes the salary packages. So, well, a fresher qualified ACCA, 6 lakhs to 8 lakhs, and it can go all the way up to 12 lakh, depending on what kind of company, what kind of interview, did you have a rank in any of your papers, etc., etc. This is when you're a fresher. As you move forward in life, of course, like I said, if you become a partner or a CFO, whether it's your fixed, whether it's your bonus, or whether it's your ESOPs, they go into cross and cross. I even tell you that when you have no experience, you're in college maybe, or you've just been giving ACCA papers, you're given 6 papers, 10 papers, you're given all papers, but you have 0 years of work experience, you can still get a starting salary package of 3 to 4 lakhs as what considered as an equivalent to just getting started in the real world. That's really a great starting point. So of course you have to pay your dues, but when you do, you land up at a point where you have a very powerful safety net in this qualification. And this is just about India. Let me quickly move on to overseas. I recently had conversations with students. One of them, well, she's not a student actually. She's quite senior. She has, as an ACCA, worked in India, worked in Dubai, and currently she's in UK. KPMG hired her, but they found her because she was an ACCA. She knew this. She had that relevant experience. So KPMG UK, in a matter of a short span, called her, her daughters, and she and her family have moved and are staying in the UK. Another student of mine, Ayushi, her dream country to work in was Japan. So many years ago, when she started ACCA, since many years, she's also been studying Japanese as a language on the side. Fast forward to a couple of years ago, Nomura, one of the biggest investment banks in the world and the biggest in Japan, they wanted somebody who's done ACCA and understands Japanese. They found her on LinkedIn. Basically, they gave her a job and they called her to Japan for a few years. This is just a couple of anecdotes. Beyond this, I have people who moved to Canada. Like I said, UK. Dubai is very, very popular. Singapore, I have students who've gone. One of my other students, she was working in one of these big six that I was referring to. And because of her experience and ACCA qualification, she got an opportunity to take a secondment. A secondment means for a couple of years, the company shifts you to their other sister company. She got an opportunity to move to San Francisco because of her ACCA. So if you think about the scope of ACCA internationally, as long as you pay your dues, you might have to work in the beginning in India, but you keep searching, you keep looking for opportunities, you can land up in all these other kind of countries. Question number 2. Are there any negative markings for any of the ACCA exams? Next comes the exemptions. Now, this is one of the most unique factors about ACCA. Most qualifications expect you to go through that entire qualification, no matter where you've come from, right? You want to do an MBA, you have to go through the entire PA. You want to do CA, you have to do the entire CA. You want to do CPA, you want to do CFA, you have to do the entire thing. You want to go and take up something outside of finance, you'll have to go through the entire qualification. ACCA is the only one that has this unique advantage where they call it, which we call exemptions. What they say is that if you already have certain qualifications or experience that overlap with our ACCA curriculum, you can avoid it. You can skip some papers. So, for example, let's say you are a BCom graduate, right? If you're a BCom graduate, you get certain exemptions from ACCA, up to 5 exemptions from ACCA. Out of 13 papers I was explaining, you can skip 5, which means you only have to give 8 papers, which ends up speeding up your process. It ends up in you completing the qualification faster. It ends up in you starting your career faster. And the exemptions you get are because they overlap with what you've already studied. So it's not like you will be lost when you study those 8 papers. So that's, for example, a BCom exemption. When you talk about if you're a fully qualified CA, this is the beauty. If you're already an Indian CA, you're looking to upskill yourself, ACCA, you get 9 out of 13 exemptions. You only have to give 4 papers. For a CA, your articleship also overlaps with the ACCA articleship. I'll just come to that in a bit. But there's something beautiful called exemptions. So for most students, whether you're in BCom or you are doing your MBA or you are somewhere in your CA process, even if you just completed inter CA, you still get 5 to 6 to 7 exemptions depending on which groups you've cleared, etc. So ACCA ensures that anything you've studied in the past does not go to waste. And the beauty is that beyond the time saved, you also end up saving immense amount of fees because you don't have to really study for these exams, give the full exam fee, study material fees or the training fees or anything that you would have otherwise had to spend. Don't be concerned if you have to give all the 13 papers because I have given all, and there is a massive benefit to having actually done the whole thing as well. This is only for those who are actually prepared to use their past knowledge to advance their ACCA qualification. If you're doing it purely for a shortcut, it might not be the right strategy. But anyways, you can reach out to us for all these details. Question number 3. Between these 3 countries, where does ACCA give you the signing authority and where does it not? India, Dubai, and London. Next comes the fee structure. Now, if you think about ACCA start to end, all 13 papers, over a period of 3 years, you will be spending between 4 to 5 lakhs depending on a few things like the speed of you clearing, the forex rate, etc., etc. But let me tell you how this fees is split into two parts. One is what we pay the ACCA body, and one is what you'll have to invest for training. For the ACCA body, there are a few components. Number one, registration. You have to pay for registration, which, by the way, it's coming close to around 9,000 rupees if you do it by yourself. But at Zell, because we are a platinum provider, you get it all for free. Anyways, there's something called a subscription fee, which you have to pay every year. It's around 13,000 for the first few years. And then as you clear ACCA and become a member, it increases. It's like a membership fee that you pay for ACCA. It's there in every qualification. Next is something which you call exam fees. Every time you appear for an exam, there is a fee ranging around 10 to 12,000 per exam. And finally, there is something called an exemption fee. So even if you earned certain exemptions, you will have to pay for it, which is equivalent to the exam fee I was referring to. But once again, with Zell, because we are platinum partners, we get to waive off a huge chunk of the exemption fee. So instead of paying 10 to 12,000 for many of them, you barely pay 1,000, 1,500 rupees per exemption. That depends. There are a lot of criteria. Once again, you'll have to let us know your individual profile for us to help you with all of that. But point is that, yeah, these are what you pay the body. This is all paid as you move along. It's all paid online and it's all paid in pounds. Now, when it comes to the training fees, the balance is for the training fees, but the training fees at Zell, for example, this includes a lot of things, right? Of course, it includes the live training as well as the recorded training, the self-paced training for all the subjects. There are study material, our content is created in a way that helps you navigate the ACCA qualification from an Indian standpoint. With Indian examples, we talk about Zomato, we talk about Swiggy, we talk about Flipkart. We also talk about things like Apple and Samsung. We make it as relatable as possible to understand the finance and accounting aspects from examples that you've touched and felt. So it's hopefully easier for our students to understand. We have an army of ACCA qualified faculties. So many of them are rank holders themselves. ACCA has this concept of rank holders, which means every time you get a result, you might be the top scorer in India and you get a rank. So we have every quarter, over the last, I think, almost 30 quarters, every time there has been a rank that has come across the globe from Zell because of this ecosystem that we've developed. Right? We have, a lot of help with placements. A lot of people don't need help with placements anymore with ACCA because now the market recognizes it. But for those who need it, we have an entire placement team to help. So all of these things are included in the training fees as well. The total over 3 years spread out will come to around 4 to 5 lakhs. But the way to look at it is that as soon as you start working, if your first salary package is any which way 6 to 8 lakhs, in half a year, you're going to recoup everything, right? Plus, you will be working during some part of your ACCA journey. So you will also earn as you learn. Right? And also, if you think about any higher education, if you think about an MBA, especially if you think about going overseas, right, you're going to spend 50 lakhs, 1 CR minimum, and you're going to be there for a year or two, right? It of course has its pros, but here in 4-5 lakhs, you'll end up having an international qualification. You'll end up doing the same thing that others do. Plus, you're exposing yourself to the real world like we did to get the advantage of time. So that by the time you are 5 years into the working world after ACCA, you will hopefully be way ahead than almost anybody who studies, who works for 5 years with some other qualification, because you will most likely finish it earlier and have more exposure to the real. Next comes what we call PER, the practical experience requirement. Very important. There is a criteria for any professional qualification. Passing exams is not the only thing. You have to demonstrate that you have work experience. And think about it. CA has articleship. MBA requires, most of the good MBAs require you to have a little bit of experience. Talk about CFA, talk about CPA, talk about anything. Everything requires experience. So does ACCA. The way to look at it is that it's split into 3 parts. Part 1, you need to work for 3 years, 36 months in the field of finance and accounts. At Zell, I always recommend people to go and work in a CA firm. That's what I had done. So it might be a little difficult, but it might be low paying, but you get real on the ground experience. It makes a big difference. Otherwise, you can join any company as long as it's the field of finance or accounts. So you can join the Big Four, you can join your dad's business, you can go and work even in non-finance industries, but in the finance department of any company, right? So my father has a restaurant chain. I spent a couple of months working with him in the finance team, and that gets counted as your experience. So that is part 1. And part 2 is called performance objectives, and part 3 is called your ethics module. For these 2 details, we made a detailed video on PER. Please have a look. You'll get full clarity, but you need to complete all of these. If you only complete your exams, but not this work experience, you're called an ACCA affiliate. You complete the work experience and then you become an ACCA member. That's what you have to aim for. So guys, I hope that this gives you complete in-depth clarity on what ACCA is. Of course, if you have any more questions, feel free. We are always here as, an advocate, biggest advocate of ACCA in India. We have been able to push the boundaries of ACCA's recognition in India, the kind of jobs our students are getting, the kind of understanding that the industry gets about ACCA. We've tried to make sure that all of that helps all of us keep on moving ahead in our career, whether it's in India or overseas.